What's up, everybody? Thanks again for stopping by for another edition of March 4th with Mike Bauman. I, of course, am your host, Mike Bauman. Whoever you are, wherever you are listening from, thank you so much for checking out the podcast. If you're a returning listener, I greatly appreciate your continued love and support. And if you're a brand new listener of the show, man, thank you so much for hopping aboard that pirate ship. You can follow me on Instagram at March 4th Pod. I am also on YouTube and TikTok at March 4th Pod. The link tree with all of my stuff is in the podcast description for this episode. So that means if you made it here, then you found me somehow. And I truly appreciate each and every one of you taking the time to check out another edition of the March 4th with Mike Bauman podcast. How is everybody doing, man? I hope that life finds you well as you are listening to this. I myself am feeling way better than the last time I did this show, man. The last episode that I just did with Dylan Baumgartner of Slingshot. Check it out. Check out Slingshot. They're awesome. I digress. But I was sick for like 2-3 weeks, man. I don't know if it was COVID, if it was the flu. But I got a little touch of something, and it just kind of took me down, and my voice was kind of messed up. I had a lot of drainage out of my sinuses, so not to be gross, but I'm finally feeling rejuvenated. It's been a great weekend here in Tennessee. Got a chance to go outside and just get some fresh air. I finally got a chance to get back into working out this week after, taking some time to just try to rest up because I'm kind of one of those people that, like, even when I'm sick, I still try to work out because I just hate sitting around. But at the onset of this thing that I had, man, I worked out, and the next day I felt infinitely worse. And I think it was probably because my immune system was like, dude, you're already worn down. And now you just like turn that up to like 9 on the fatigue scale. So, anywho, I hope that you guys are doing well. This is one of my favorite times of the year. We've got basketball coming back. I'm a huge Pistons fan. I was a Pistons fan before it was cool, just like I was a Lions fan before it was cool. Shout out Detroit. I love you, Detroit. About an hour north of where I grew up, man. And it's just cool to see, two of my favorite teams in the whole world starting to play well these last few years and get some good leadership, get some good players, get a good core group of guys out there. And so we got basketball kicking up. We've got football, in full swing. We've got hockey is back. It really is a great time of the year for sports if you like sports. Excuse me. And musically, it's cool because we're post like the summer circuit of festivals now, but we've got a lot of bands who either have fall tours or new music coming out, and it's just like a cool way to close out the year. And that's where we are with this week's guest, man, in terms of new music. And I won't waste too much time getting into it, but I hope that you guys are doing well, man. I hope that you're taking care of yourselves mentally and physically, spiritually, emotionally, man, all phases, body, mind, and soul. Make sure you take care of yourself. And if you have any goals, we're in the last 3 months of the year. It's crazy. I swear, I know I talk about time a lot on this show, but I think it's just, I'm at an age now at 37 where I'm so conscious of like how precious time is, and a wise voice told me not too long ago, time is the one thing we don't get more of. And I know it's like, well, duh, but it is a poignant way to put that. You know what I mean? When you look at where you put your energy, where you put your resources, where you invest yourself, your money, time's the one thing that doesn't come back. And so I think it's important to not waste it and to not waste it on negative energy or people or things or intrusive thoughts for somebody like myself who struggles, with some of that, overthinking and being too hard on myself. Like, time is a very precious resource. It's the most precious resource, I think. And so, don't hold back on whatever goals that you have for yourself or your business or things that you want to accomplish. You don't got to wait till January 1st to get on that. So I would just encourage you, if there's anything that you want to try to get done, we've got about 3 months left in the year, man. So, life is, you're one decision away from a different life. Never forget that too, man. So I know I'm just dropping, quotes all over this thing to start, but for real, I feel better. The sun is shining. I got a chance to spend some time in nature this weekend, and I'm feeling good. And I can't thank all of you enough for continuing to be on this ride with me with March 4th. It's great to see people who care about music and mental health, and it's great when you get new people. And speaking of new people and music and awesome vibes and connecting with people in a positive way, man, and new music to close out the year. Across the pond, man, this week's guest is none other than Gavin Bowles. He is an Australian based singer songwriter, guitarist, and musician. He is the front man of the band Gavin Bowles and the Distractions. And I love these guys because while they take their music seriously, they don't take themselves too seriously. If you're a fan of pop rock and pop punk and alternative and indie, they kind of take all of that and put it in a blender for their own unique vibe of rock and roll. Would be the overall bucket that it's under. But if you're a fan of bands like Foo Fighters and Blink 182 and Green Day, I think you'll like these guys. Not because they sound like those bands, but just that element of taking the musicianship seriously, but not taking themselves too seriously. Blink and Green Day and Foo Fighters are bands that are kind of known for having fun in their music videos and not taking themselves too seriously. And that's exactly what Gavin and the boys are doing with Gavin Bowles and the Distractions. They've put out numerous music videos over the years, many of which are funny and very, very creative. And the reason I got Gavin on the show is because this Friday, as you guys are listening to this podcast, their new album, Are We Having Fun Yet, is going to be dropping on October 17th, this Friday. And then they're going to do an album release show on October 24th at Bootleggers Newtown in Australia. And they're also doing a dope vinyl release for this record as well. This album is the follow up to their 2023 album, Phoning It In. And like I said, musicianship wise, I dig it because these guys mix it up. I Get Bored has like a really cool kind of AC/DC riff to it. Ships in the Night, one of their prior songs, I really love. There's a great solo in that. And so far this year, they've put out the songs Love is Dumb, Sober, and Spooky, which just came out recently at the beginning of October in preparation for this release for Are We Having Fun Yet? So this was just a really fun conversation, man, with Gavin about music, how he got into music in Australia, bands that influenced him, that lighthearted vibe, getting to jam with his brother, supportive parents who really encouraged those guys in their art, and everything that's going on with this new record. So without further ado, I'm going to shut my big yapper and give you guys my conversation with Gavin Bowles from Gavin Bowles and the Distractions. Here it is. Alrighty, there we go. Well, Gavin, thanks again so much for taking the time, dude, especially from across the pond, as it were. I appreciate you making time for me, especially with us being in very different time zones. But yeah, man, it was cool. Like we were shooting a breeze before the jump, just learning more about you and the music, and really dig the vibe of Gavin Bowles and the Distractions, dude. So happy to get you on with this new record coming out, man.
Hey, thanks very much for having me. Yeah, I'm very very honored. And yeah, it's always interesting to talk to people about your music when they're from a different country and see sort of how it if it translates, to sort of a slightly different cultural background or something. You always like to think that the songs that you write are universal and that the ideas are universal. So it's always interesting to kind of delve into that.
Just as a place to start, dude, I did enjoy y'all sound, man. Like going back and listening to the catalog, and the record that you put out with Gavin Bowles and the Distractions a couple of years ago, Phoning It In. It was good to listen to that. Went back and listened to your other stuff, like a couple of notes I jotted down. I Get Bored definitely had like it gave me that main riff, kind of gave me like some AC/DC vibes. That looked like a fun one. And I saw that you guys put out like a live music video for that. That looked like it was fun. Ships
Mm.
in the Night had a really great solo too, man. I really enjoyed that one. But listening into the Phoning It In record, and then the two singles that you've dropped so far for the forthcoming album, which will be hitting people's years not too long after they hear this episode, are we having fun
Mm.
yet? Love is Dumb and Sober. Those are fun to listen to, but usually I like to go way back, man, and just ask
Yeah.
people, what was the bug that bit you with music, dude?
Yeah, I mean, there was always, and thank you for all of that. Very, very kind. There was always music in the house. Mum and dad were always into music. Um, they encouraged music. So the drummer in the band is my brother Simon. So yeah, there was always music in the house. They both played a little bit of guitar when they were younger, and so I started learning at maybe about 7, playing guitar, and I think Simon started learning drums when he was maybe a similar age. He's a couple of years younger than me. Yeah, honestly, I think it was just always around. I did go to see the Wiggles when I was like 4 or something, and this is before they were really, really big. They played at a tiny little community hall to probably about 30 kids. So this is when they were really just on the ABC in Australia, and were just doing these kind of like little tours in vans and stuff. I always thought that Murray, the original Wiggle, because he was the guitarist who played a Telecaster, I thought that he was like the coolest dude ever. And I've since met him, and he is a lovely guy and a great guitarist. So there was that, and then I think I got really, really into the kind of music that Mum and Dad had, especially in the house, but also particularly when we went on sort of like long family road trips on a holiday or something. We'd listen to like full albums in the car. They weren't particularly big radio people, so things like Australian bands like Midnight Oil and Cold Chisel, and then I don't know, there were some other things in there that I sort of can't think of right now. There was a little bit eclectic, but it was normally sort of in the vein of like rock and pop and things like that. Probably a lot of 70s, 80s, 90s, which I guess you can kind of hear in our sound. Because I think there's a sort of freeness and a playfulness with the music from those eras, and the 60s as well, I suppose, that I think I've always been drawn towards. And then really the thing that probably just solidified everything for me was my first guitar teacher. Like many kids picking up a guitar, one of the first songs, if not the first song I learned, was "Time of Your Life" by Green Day. And then I think I learned another Green Day song, and I saw their best of CD in a store, and I went, "Oh well, I like those two songs. I'll give it a go." But "Time of Your Life" and whatever the other song was, it was probably more of a low key song, like "Warning" or something. When I put the CD on and I started to hear some of the old like 90s, like, sort of punk rock stuff, I just went, what's going on? What is this? And then I just kind of, I just fell in love with the sound, and with the kind of the tenacity of what they were doing, and the kind of the playfulness and the sarcasm. And I've kind of never really sort of lost that. Like, I still love Green Day, but I love that sort of playfulness and that not taking yourself too seriously aspect. So that's probably where it all sort of culminated, and then one thing leads to another, and then you're in a band, and as I said, my brother Simon, he learnt the drums, and Cameron, who plays bass in the Distractions, we met in high school. We played in a few different bands. The three of us were actually a three-piece for many years called Picture Perfect, sort of in high school and after high school. And so the three of us have been playing together for a long time, in different ways, in different bands. And then one of the records you would have listened to, so that was just under my name, just under Gavin Bowles, called This Year's Modern. That's sort of the first album that involves the Distractions. Like, if you buy the physical version, it says it mentions the Distractions, but at that point, The fourth member was a friend of ours called Wesley, and he played keyboards. So there's a little bit of keyboards on that album. But then he left because he's a very busy fella. He does a lot of his own projects. And then we just kind of had a conversation where we said, all right, well, we'd done the three-piece thing, and I was kind of leaning more towards wanting to play sort of less guitar and focusing on more being like a frontman and a songwriter and that kind of thing. And so we just said, do we get another fourth member who plays the keyboards, or does it not really matter what instrument it is? We just need a fourth person to bring something to the table and who we already get along with. Like, do we know someone? And we all kind of beelined for Michael, who's our guitar, who's the fourth member. So yeah, we've been a band now for 3 years, just over 3 years as this lineup. And when we jumped straight into that Phoning It In record, because it was pretty much written before Michael joined. So yeah, and that's kind of sort of how we got here, really.
I appreciate you sharing that, Gavin. Yeah, it's like I was even as you were talking, I was thinking about the music that you may have grown up with, because Australia has, like, for people who aren't aware, I feel like a pretty rich history and like global contribution to music with like AC/DC, In Excess, that was a band that like my mom and my stepdad were really into, but then like more
Mm.
like my vibe, like Silverchair,
Yep.
Parkway Drive. I'm a big metalhead. Parkway Drive is from down there. Like, so yeah, I wondered how much of like the local flavor, as it were. And then I was looking it up as well too, like Crowded House, Men at Work, Colin Hay. I freaking love Men at Work. Colin Hay
Yep.
is like his voice. I could listen to that dude sing forever, man. But
Yeah.
even when he did like the acoustic versions of some of their hits, man, I thought that was sick. But yeah, so it's cool. It sounds like you and your brother, like nobody was fighting over who was gonna play what. If you gravitated to the guitar and he gravitated to the drums, so that kind of worked out.
Yeah, it just sort of happened. Dad was a guitarist, but he bought a drum kit off a friend, probably when probably around the time that he finished high school, I think. And so it just kind of, so underneath the house that we grew up in, mum and dad had, there was kind of like I suppose you'd kind of call it a basement. It was a concrete floor, concrete roof, and then like brick walls. And they just kind of had it under the house as kind of like semi-storage. But I think they always had the idea that maybe they'd have like a nice little wine cellar down there or something. But then they had kids. And so there's some wine down there, I think, but it was mainly storage. And one of the things that was stored down there was Dad's drum kit. So I tinkered around on it a few times. And then I did, I had some kind of like, cheap throwaway guitars when I was, my first electric was like $100 Stratocaster copy that I plastered with stickers. And then what sort of sparked starting a band was we went to see, so Dad took Simon and I to see Green Day on the American Idiot tour when they came to Australia. And that was in 2005. And famously, Billy Joe plays those Les Paul Juniors, which is just they were designed as student guitars back in the 50s. So it's really no nonsense. It's a piece of wood. It's a flat piece of wood with one pickup on it. And you just turn it up loud. So that's what he was playing at that show. And I went to a music store not long after that and saw a similar model. It's called a Melody Maker. It's sort of almost the same thing. And I think Mum and Dad bought it for me, and I paid them off by doing chores around the house and stuff like that. I can't quite remember, but yeah. And then I just started writing like crazy because I had this guitar, and it was had Gibson on the headstock, and it was new and exciting. I mean, it's still new and exciting if I get a new guitar. And I really just said to Simon, "Do you want to try playing some drums?" And within 6 months, uh, he he went from, you know, being a beginner to being a really great sort of inventive drummer. And then he started getting some lessons with a guy who was actually a jazz drummer. There was an old Australian jazz band called Galapagos Duck, sort of a jazz fusion band, and the drummer's name was Mal, who sadly passed away a few years ago. But he taught Simon, and then it was just, and then it was all over. Like, then Simon was just unstoppable. So he also plays in a prog metal band, which is sort of more his style. But you know, like anybody, it's cool to do different things. It flexes different muscles musically. So you know, we've all done different things in different bands, and you always end up sort of bringing something to the table from doing something with other people or doing other projects and other styles. Yeah, so I mean, that was kind of how. Yeah, I don't think we really ever really had a conversation about it. It was like, well, I play guitar and now you play drums, and that's you know, that's what we're gonna do. Yeah, but sometimes at band practice, we all end up on a different instrument just to muck around, just have fun.
For sure, man. When did you discover your voice? Like, do you remember the first song you tried to sing, or when did you realize, like, okay, this is also an instrument that I can develop to be a singer and a frontman? Because that takes obviously a lot of courage too. I feel like, I mean,
Mm.
I feel like everybody at some point in time who loves music tried to sing and was either like, I can do this and I can exercise this. They're like, oh, no, I got to stick to the guitar, the drums, or the bass. I can't sing.
Mm.
But, so what age were you when you tried it, and then where you were like, oh, I can do this. I can develop my voice.
To be honest with you, I think the thought of developing my voice came later. I had sung once or twice. Maybe I think there were one or two times when we were kids, and you know, like Simon and Dad and I, you know, just like mucked around with some guitars and drums, and you know, it was really just sort of like hitting things and playing 12-bar blues and stuff like that. And maybe, you know, sometimes Dad would sing a few bars and I'd sing a few bars. It was all just very fun and breezy. But then when I, you know, got that guitar and got Simon on the drums, we got two friends from high school. One of them had just started learning guitar. The other one had just started learning bass. So I just said, do you guys want to come over? Simon plays drums, and maybe we can, you know, play the local, you know, school band night or something and just have some fun. And I didn't even really think about it. I just kind of went, I'll sing. I'd already written a few songs, and I'd been singing them in my bedroom. So it just kind of happened. I don't think I really thought too much about developing my voice at that time. It was probably more later, sort of after we played a few shows, that, you know, I just kind of went, you know, I wonder what else I can do with my voice, because I was really just like most teenagers, I was really just singing very simple melodies. It was probably really when, you know, sort of got to the point of probably expanding the music that I was also into. You know, we started listening to some other bands, like Incubus, and Queens of the Stone Age, and those kind of bands where they have very eclectic styles, and particularly the singers of those two bands are very, very versatile and very, very different to sort of the more kind of roots, kind of pub rock and punk rock stuff that I was into, that's a little more simplistic with its vocal melodies. So I think that's probably where I started to expand it. So kind of later in my teens. tried to challenge myself probably too many times, probably too much. And then I think at some point I really just sort of ended up on like, I know that there's some things that I can do that maybe are a little fancy and stuff like that, but I always want to make sure there's a melody in there, that there's something that people can grab onto. And because um I just love a great hook and a great melody. Um and I always strive to obviously express myself, but to try and do that at the same time as making something that maybe will be, sticking in people's heads afterwards.
For sure, for sure. Well, shout out to mom and dad for supporting y'all's love for music and introducing you guys to it and creating a space where that's welcomed,
Mm,
to crank up the volume and bang on the drums, man. And just talking about melodies, and you mentioned Green Day and their influence. I didn't want to lose that point with you too. Like, and shout out to dad for taking you guys, man. Like, how monumental was that for you at that time? And speaking of melodies, I mean, to this day, I mean, I remember that I was a sophomore in high school when I believe when that record came out in '04.
mm.
I'm trying to remember when in '04. I might have been early junior year, but I want to say it was my sophomore year of high school in '04. Um, but Boulevard of Broken Dreams, like that melt, like right away, that song, the way it starts, I walk this lonely road, like you're like, I'm in, like right away. It's like he's painting a picture, you're in the
Yeah.
story. But how cool
Yep.
was for you guys to go to that show and see them live? Because that album was huge at the time, and I feel like,
Mm.
may have brought in, I'm thinking now about sort of not that like pop punk ever went away, right? But I do feel like the last few years it's had kind of like this new wave of fans and younger people latching onto it. And I think about that time for Green Day, like that was almost 10 years, I want to say, after Dookie. So like I feel like
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
for them, I almost wonder if that kind of brought in a whole new wave of fans for them. But anyway, I guess my direct question would be like how to see that live, like what was that like to be part of that in that cycle, like while it was happening?
And here's Terry. There he is. How you doing, buddy? My cat. It was monumental. It was everything. Because I'd fallen in love with. So as I said, I bought that like best of record, and this is maybe about 2 or 3 years before American Idiot came out. So I then worked my way to buying all of their albums. Um, so I knew everything up until American Idiot before it came out, loved all of it. And then when I bought that album and put it on, it blew my mind because it was also not like anything that they'd done already. The second track's a 9 minute, 5 part, Bohemian Rhapsody style song, but it's also still punk rock. And it was very, very moving. And I think that, then seeing it live was just a whole other thing because then there were pyrotechnics and there were like all these massive like explosions and there were like banner drops and all this kind of stuff. They put on a show. So that really, really stuck with me, because, and again, props to mom and dad. They'd already taken us to see a few concerts. We did actually. You reminded me when you said that we did actually go to see Silverchair. I believe on their Diorama tour, and that was pretty monumental as well. But we'd also just been to see a few like small pub rock bands and stuff as well, if we were able to be let in, being underage. So we'd been to some, kind of like local things, and I think it was really important that we saw both. Seeing local bands in small pubs and venues was just as important as seeing a huge show like Green Day because it gave us context. Because I think the biggest thing we learned from seeing Green Day was just you can you can be that tight, you can be that amazing, um, but then there's a lot of things about that show that you can't do um, as a small local band in a small local space. Um, and so seeing a lot of local bands and seeing how they work the stage and the audience was just as valuable. And I think that's so important for everybody. I remember I was talking to a guy recently, and because obviously AC/DC are just about to, well, they're probably already on tour. They're about to come to Australia soon. And I was speaking to a guy, and he said, "Oh, I'm about, I think his daughter's about 15." He said, "I'm going to take her to her first concert." I said, "Oh, what is it?" He said, AC/DC. And I was like, wow, that's huge. But then I remember thinking, it'd be great if he also, took her to see a band just like a tiny local band in a local pub as well. Because those show, I mean, especially AC/DC and, like an open air arena or something, what a huge show and what an amazing show it'll be. But they're entirely different experiences, but they both have so much merit. So I think I kind of took things from both of those to try and work into the way that we did things live. And you're always changing and you're always learning. Every time I see a band, I feel like I learn something. But yeah, it was a huge, it lit a fire under us seeing Green Day for sure.
Yeah, that had to be so cool to just be part of like that American Idiot cycle when it was happening. Because I want to say Boulevard of Broken Dreams was the first song that I heard from that. And I remember even at that time being like, oh, this is a different vibe from like some of the faster kind of earlier stuff that they had done, you know what I mean? And it took off, man. Like that song was everywhere at that time when I was in high school, and to see the
Mm,
staying power of that. And again, at that time they were already huge. They were already like one of the biggest bands on the planet. And just talking about it with you, like I was thinking, I was like, yeah, I want to say that was a full decade after Dookie, because I was a little dude in the mid 90s and I was very aware of them just, with MTV and music videos. And one of my buddies, shout out Mike, my other buddy Mike, he was really into Green Day, and like in junior high and stuff. So I was very familiar with their earlier work and like well aware of them. But I distinctly remember when that came out when I was a sophomore, I was like, oh wow, this is a different, in particular that Boulevard of Broken Dreams. I'm like, this is a very different track from what I've heard from them. You know what I mean? Um,
mm.
but it's cool that you got a chance to be part of that while it was happening. And like you said, even seeing bands at the pubs, there's a really famous venue. I've shouted out a lot because I'm wearing a Toledo Storm shirt right now for the listeners, but I'm always going to put on for my hometown. And there's a venue there called Frankie's Inner City, and everybody and their brother played there over the years, including bands like the White Stripes. Maybe Silverchair might even play there back in the day, and the Smashing Pumpkins, and
Cool.
shout out my buddies in Tropic Bombs, and it's a cool venue that it's like you walk in, you have the like sort of the merch area and sort of a hangout area, and then you break left, and there's actually a glass viewing window where the drummer is. So like people walking by in the street can see like the drummer playing while the band's playing live. And then that is just sort of this rectangular small room, man. And so many bands have played there over the years, but the energy of being in a small club or a bar or pub, and what you kind of have to bring to the table is different than obviously being in like an arena. But some of my favorite shows that I've been to are my buddies in Tropic Bombs and at Frankie's Inner City and on the east side, Toledo, Ohio, man. Like, and I think
Mm,
those shows can have the same impact as somebody who's, loves music, or maybe that a pub show or a small club show is what gets them into going, man, like I kind of want to go from being the guy that's watching it, being the person that's watching it, to being up there and getting people to feel the way that I feel watching this band. So I think it's cool that
mm.
recognize the importance of both because, at some point your favorite band was playing those shows. Green Day was playing shows like that long before,
Yeah,
people knew them to be the band that they're being. We all start somewhere.
totally. Yeah. Yeah, I think and the thing that I love about lots of other artists too, but the thing I love about Green Day is they still sometimes do those tiny little club shows. They played one in Sydney um maybe about ten years ago. We used to have a festival here called Soundwave. And I think like there often are certainly here. I don't know about in the US or other areas, but sometimes when there's international acts that come here for a festival, especially the headliners, they're contracted to not do side shows as a way to get the ticket sales up for the festivals. So obviously Green Day found a loophole that they couldn't sell tickets and they couldn't advertise it prior to the event. So it was just an Instagram post from Billy Joe 2 hours before they started saying, we're playing the Captain Cook Hotel in Sydney, free entry, get there. And we'd played that pub like a few months before, and we're like, that place only holds 200 people. So I grabbed Simon and we got in my car. I just finished work and we drove there, and we just didn't get let in. But because we'd played there, I knew kind of where to watch them from outside. So there was probably about us and another couple of hundred people watching them from outside. And I know they kind of do that sort of thing all over the US and throughout Europe as well. That they've just never lost kind of their roots and that way of doing things. I know there's other artists that are like that too. So that's all. I feel like that's also really important. And yeah, we really get a kick out of playing. We've played some bigger stages and things like that, and they're all really fun. But probably one of our favorite venues to play is so we grew up just outside of Sydney in the Blue Mountains. There's a venue in the Blue Mountains called Station Bar, and there's no stage. We just play on the floor up against these big back windows, which are up against the main street. So people walking the main street can see the back of the band, and normally those windows are like covered in sweat because it gets real hot and sweaty in there real quick. And just that, because there's nothing between us and the audience, the energy is just so palpable. And I kind of love playing venues like that because we also played a new venue in Sydney recently called Chuck Trailers, which is very similar. There is a stage. It's actually a skate ramp, but it's not elevated above where the audience stands. There's a tiny little sort of gate thing in front of it, but we're basically a couple of inches away from the front row of punters dancing and stuff. So we love that kind of thing, and that's sort of where a lot of our music on these records, as Gavin Bowles and the Distractions, was kind of born from, because sort of already played a few of these types of venues, and I think subconsciously I wanted to write some more just sort of upbeat sort of pop rock songs that would be really fun in a live setting. And I also wanted them to be kind of upbeat because Phoning It In was sort of written during sort of the back end of COVID. We had a lot of really long lockdowns here in Australia. So a lot of that material is written in because, it was a dark time and we were all, kind of a bit depressed and we couldn't see each other and we couldn't play shows and stuff. And so I was just writing songs to kind of uplift my own mood. And that's where some of those songs came through. But then also a song like I Get Bored was also a lockdown song, which was kind of a little manic. So we sort of were able to marry those two things and make an album and a show that was a lot of kind of fun out of, having a couple of different moods. And then the new records just kind of, I think, going even further. I feel there's a little bit of manic energy on there, but there's also some kind of more vulnerable moments, and then some, kind of upbeat poppy moments and things like that. because I think maybe that's another thing that we've learned from seeing bands like Green Day, of course, like you were saying, how they would come out with a song like Boulevard of Broken Dreams. It was just different to everything they'd done. But in a live setting, it's really great to see a band play a catalog of stuff that doesn't sound the same. It just kind of makes everything hit a bit harder. They go from playing a song like Boulevard of Broken Dreams to playing a song like Welcome to Paradise. And both of those songs are really powerful and have a lot of energy, but in totally different ways. So I think that's maybe something that I've always tried to do with my songwriting, but I feel like we're just always expanding and trying harder, especially on a record. So that's kind of, I think, where I was getting into a space for this new record was definitely trying to do something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think and thanks again so much for your time, Gavin. I really appreciate it, brother. Again, especially with the big time difference in the different countries we're in, man. But yeah, like listening to y'all's music, getting ready for this, like I definitely feel like you can hear that you guys take the music seriously, but obviously when you watch the music videos and some of the visuals that you put out, like you talked about earlier, like you don't take yourselves too seriously. And I always appreciate that with bands. Like that's one of the things that I always loved about Green Day, Foo Fighters, Blink 182, these bands where it was like, there's not too many bands that could follow them or would want to follow them and play after them. But at the same time, those guys, I don't know any of them personally, but they seem to like, have a strong level of self-awareness and be like, hey, this should still be really fun though, too. And yeah, and with Are We Having Fun Yet? Like it's coming out October 17th. You have the clown cover, which I thought was interesting. I wanted to ask about the artwork choice for that, but then also, I watching the music videos for the two singles that you put out leading up to the release of the record, Love Is Dumb and Sober. You were just talking about kind of like some of the more vulnerable moments. Like Sober definitely came off as more of an introspective, vulnerable song. And then Love Is Dumb, I really liked because the music video for that one, both the music videos are awesome. Shout out to Tom Roberts who directed Sober. For people who haven't seen it, it's really cool because um like it's basically showing like a house party. The guy wakes up in the morning and like the same scene that he's in the night before, he's like in during the day, waking up the next day. But Love Is Dumb had like a really cool kind of like VHS 80s like dating tapes vibe to it. But yeah, long way of me saying I can't wait to listen to the whole thing, man.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry, I just had to go and check on Terry the cat being a rascal.
No, it's all
Yeah,
right. It
look, it's
sounded like he might have been. He sounds like he might have been running around back there. I could see your eyes a little bit while I was talking to you. I'm like, I know. I had an orange. Man. They're crazy.
yeah, yeah. He is a wild guy. Yeah, the film clips are always fun, and we definitely were influenced by those same bands and those same sort of aspects. Because I don't know. I think I've always wanted to tone it down a bit if it felt like we were being too brooding or heavy or something. I think as I've gotten older, I think I've just been like, oh, maybe it should, you can have a vulnerable moment and that's okay. But yeah, we definitely really like doing those film clips. And Love Is Done was a lot of fun. It was we actually barely prepared anything. I had the idea for the dating video. I sent the director like an actual compilation on YouTube of old 80s dating video kind of clips, like a montage. I just said, this is what we're going for. And I just messaged the guys and I said, bring a couple of costumes. Let's just see what happens when the camera rolls. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. And it actually ended up getting played on TV here in Australia, which was very exciting. A program called Rage on the ABC here. So Yeah, it was a lot of fun doing that one. Sober was a lot of fun too. Kind of, I had that vague idea of the sort of the party and the hangover shots sort of throughout the clip, throughout the song. And our director, Tom Roberts, shout out to Tom. He's directed all of our music videos on this record and previous records. I really just gave him the idea, and then he just took it somewhere else. Like he set up all of those shots and all the great lighting, and it was his idea for me to kind of have the tripod strapped to me, sort of be from my, like, that kind of following my my sort of my body movements around and stuff. Had a little bruise in my chest from having the tripod stuck in there. Yeah, we're really happy with how both of them, I mean, all of them have turned out. Yeah, I feel like it always just gives another aspect to the song. You can listen to the song and get something out of it, and then that visual aspect just always gives people, another context to the song, and just another way for us to be expressive and do something else with it. So it's always good fun. Yeah, and the cover, that's Simon's best mate Josh, and he's appeared in a few of our old film clips as well. And I had the title for a little while. It's lifted from a lyric in one of the songs, and I thought it sounded like a great album title, because we do have a lot of fun, and that's kind of the whole point. But sometimes part of doing this isn't that fun, and you have to kind of remind yourself that it is fun and why you're doing it, and not to take yourself too seriously again. I just thought it sounded like a fitting thing, especially for like a second record for a band. I just thought of the cover idea one day, and I just went, gee, I think it'd be really funny if we just had like a sad clown, and just kind of, I think that imagery just sort of spoke to me. And then, and as I said, our friend Josh is up for anything, and he did a great job of doing that. And yeah, I think it looks great on a record. It looks good when it's like, large printed, holding it in your hands. So yeah, it's we're happy with that too. So very excited for everybody to hear it, and very excited to play it live as well. Been sitting on some of these songs for a while, and it's kind of, it's always great to just get it out there and start sharing it with people.
For sure, man. Well, Gavin, before I officially wrap it up with you, thank you so much again for, excuse me, my voice is I got a little bit more of like a late night jazz radio voice going because I've been sick for like a week. So I apologize for coughing and stuff, but yeah, I'm excited to hear the whole thing, man. Like I said, it's been fun to go back and listen to y'all's music, and it definitely kind of harkened back to an era of music to me where it has, like you said, that pop rock indie, excuse me, alternative vibe. But again, there's still songs in there too, like Ships in the Night, which is, a really different vibe than something like Love is Dumb or I Get Bored, you know what I mean? So I feel like you guys are showing the versatility. So I'm excited to listen to the whole thing. For everybody who's listening to this, you guys are doing an album release show, and my Midwest accent might be coming out here, Gavin. So correct me if I'm wrong, but so 10/24, October 24th, you guys are doing an album release show for Are We Having Fun Yet, which is a kickoff to the tour. And it's at Bootleggers. Is it Newton or Newtown? Because I want to say Newtown because I'm from the Midwest in the United States, and we're very like we pronounce like everything's very pronounced, but I don't know if it's Bootleggers. Is it Newton or Newtown?
It's Newtown. It is Newtown, but I have a friend whose last name is pronounced Newton. But yes, the suburb of Sydney is pronounced Newtown. And that's a fun little room. We played it a few times. it's basic. It's sort of like it's really low ceiling and it's kind of like a long corridor. And I kind of love those sort of venues because, like I was saying with some of those other venues before, it's a little bit cramped in, and I think it just kind of heightens the mood a little bit because we're all sort of trapped in there together. And yeah, so that'll be a really fun show, and that'll kick off the tour. There'll be 5 more dates after that where we go up and down the coast, and playing some of our favorite places, but also some places we haven't been before. We always like to try and do that as well. And hey, we'd love to get overseas as well. It's definitely something we've discussed. It's unfortunately very expensive these days and at the moment, but it's definitely on our list of things we'd love to do. So watch this space. You'll be the first to know if we if we book a show in the Midwest. But yeah. Are you still in the Midwest?
I'm actually just right in the Nashville area. I moved about 10
Oh,
years ago
yeah, no,
back here.
that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's cool, man. Like when I moved here, I just thought it was all country, and then I came down here, and it's everything, you know. And what's cool is because Nashville's known as the music city, everybody wants to play here. So whatever you're into, whether you're into metal, whether you're into like pop or hip hop, like it's all here, in addition to like the country and the honky tonk kind of stuff that you would expect. So it's grown a lot since I've been here. It's the traffic's gotten a lot worse, man, but it's I love being here for the music, and there's also a really great local music scene. I've been fortunate to meet some really cool people in the excuse me, in the local Nashville music scene were very, very talented people and cool people. So yeah, it's a very eclectic vibe here for sure. In addition to, I think, kind of like the country image that it's known for, there's like a whole treasure trove of like awesome music here, you know.
That's cool. Yeah, no, I have heard good things about Nashville, and I have heard that it is actually very eclectic. And yeah, so we'd love to get over there. Yeah, it sounds like the traffic's probably equally as bad as it is in Sydney. Um, Melbourne's a little bit more chill for traffic. But yeah, Sydney's in Sydney right now too. Sydney's been through a lot of sort of hardships over. Look, probably even before I was even playing shows, there was the 90s that was really booming, and then kind of the late 90s, early 2000s saw some hardships for Sydney, and then sort of by the time that we were kind of hitting the pubs, sort of in the late 2000s, early 2010s, there was some cool venues and some cool vibes, but then we got hit with these lockout laws, which is not. I'm not sure if that's something that you've heard of that happened here. It didn't last for very long, but it really kind of killed a lot of Sydney's nightlife. Basically it meant that places had to shut off their doors to new patrons after 1 a.m. As an international city, it just didn't make any sense. It was a reaction to 1 or 2 acts of pretty brutal violence that happened in Sydney. But there was it's a longer conversation that we won't have right now. But it wasn't the best way to tackle it because it just kind of killed the nightlife. And I think that there was probably, as many other people do, I think that there was a little bit of political gain by doing so, and that's all about that. But yeah, but Sydney's, and then COVID after that. So it sounds like we're about the same age. Being millennials, I think that's maybe an undercurrent of this record is that being millennials, we were sort of brought up with a view of an attainable life of like you get a job and you work hard, but probably too hard you can sort of a house and have a family, and you can sort of come as sort of the boom. And we all kind of got there, you know, rents are sky high, education in Australia, higher education used to be free, and now it's very, very expensive. And the economy's sort of been very tumultuous for as well. So a lot of people sort of our age and younger were a little bit lost because we were sort of like promised something was actually never attainable. And I think that I have certainly felt that kind of pull, um, and that sort of, yeah, in some of these, I think it's a little bit of an undercurrent. Some of the lyrics. Um, didn't mean to get too heavy about that kind of stuff, but yeah, I think. But I'd be interested to know what you think.
Yeah, I mean, I'm 37 now, man, and just in the 10 years that I've lived here in Nashville, like my rent has basically doubled. And compared to like 1984 in the States, what the median income at that time, which was about 4 years before I was born, the median household income represented about 30-ish% of the median home price in America at that time. And now here in Nashville, the median income represents like maybe 15% of the median home price here. I mean, it's well over half a million in Nashville, and I think the national average right now for a home in America is just under half a million. So the salaries have not risen to meet the cost, and in addition to that, with interest rates and just like you said, it's a larger conversation, but sadly, a lot of polarization right now makes me really sad. I know a lot of good people who come from very different ends of the political spectrum, good friends of mine even, and it's the divisive nature of current politics and just
Mm,
the temperature is really it's kind of scary, man. It's not in my lifetime, it's not kind of been like this, but kind of getting it back to the music. There's I mean, I love music just like you. So I mean, I feel like, whether it was the 90s where I feel like economically things were probably, some people older than me might even say that from a prosperity standpoint in the United States, that was a really great time economically, and there was still a
mm,
lot of awesome music, right? From angsty, the birth of what later came to be known as new metal, from Korn, to the Green Days, to the Blink 182s, to all of the boy band stuff that was going on, which I couldn't stand back then. I loved it when the metal bands knocked off the boy bands on TRL. I was like, yeah, I felt like I had like ownership in that, even though I had nothing to do with it. I just was like, my sister and girls love the boy band, so I loved seeing like the headbangers and stuff. But yeah, I think artistically at this time, it's going to be interesting, I think, to see, I guess, kind of how the state of the world and things that are happening, how that's going to influence art and how it's going to influence music. But thankfully, we still have a lot of really awesome venues, not just in Nashville where I am, but in the States, and some really cool festivals. I was aware of Soundwave. I had seen clips over the years on YouTube of some awesome shows there. So yeah, man, I guess, I mean, I'm like Kumbaya, man. I just want everybody to love each other and get along. Um, but power and pride and profit, sadly kind of get in the way of a lot of like the good of all, not to get too philosophical, man. So yeah, I try to use this platform to hopefully put people on to dope artists like yourself. Whether or not they may have been aware of the music before, and I just hope that we can live in a world where people are still, whether they're in Australia or the United States or, Cambodia, to be able to express themselves freely,
Mm.
musically and otherwise, man. So, um, but I think right now, like I will say, as somebody who has always kind of had a taste for heavy music, in addition to rock and roll and alternative, I feel like it's a very healthy time for heavy music. In particular, you have bands like Lorna Shore, and then you have a band like Sleep Token that's just like, bringing in all different kinds of genres into what they're doing. So I feel like it's kind of a healthy time for music. I just hope that people can continue to express themselves freely in kind of all forms of life and just kind of live and let live, man. So maybe that's like the inner hippie in me. I just want people to be able to love and be loved and be left alone, man.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I'm a huge fan of The Clash. And I when that punk movement sort of first swooped through in the 70s, they were very anti everything, and they were very especially anti hippie. But I know that later in life, Joe Strummer famously said something like, he's like, old hippies and old punks, like, we all just want the same thing. We all just want, unity and equality, and just for everybody to get along, and and so yeah, I totally agree with everything that you just said. I feel it all quite deeply, and for us, it's just been really yeah. I'm the same. I know, and I know people from all walks of life who are good people, and who mean well, and look, the politics have become probably not quite as divisive as the US, but similar in recent years, because I think the I think the rhetoric of US politics has sort of influenced Australian politics a little bit, maybe. I just know that in my lifetime it's become very aggressive, and unfortunately that bleeds into the rest of society. And so yeah, we always try to make sure that we're still parts of our communities, the music community, the local communities that we live in, our friends and families, and that, when we play shows, it's like, you can leave all of that other stuff at home, but right now this is an inclusive space, and you're all free to have fun and get a little freaky, as long as we all just respect each other. And that's sort of our vibe, and it's and playing these shows is just always really fun, because we just sort of bring that mentality to the table, and then when everybody else is sort of reciprocating it back, then it's just really special, and it's really great, and it gives us hope. And I think it gives the audience a little bit of hope too. So yeah, in these times, that's all we can do, kind of like you're sort of saying. So yeah, and I mean, there's aspects of all of these things on the new record as well. It's I think my songwriting is often a stream of consciousness, and a getting things off my chest, and sometimes having a little rant about these things as well. So yeah, I think we're just that's what we're gonna be doing for kind of the rest of the year. Where we're gonna be putting out the record, playing these shows, and doing our bit to have fun and spread a little bit of love while we're doing it, and we really appreciate any support. So like yourself, definitely appreciate the opportunity to talk about it all, and to help us spread the word. And yeah, it's a charmed life, and I always try to remind myself that, because you can get bogged down in being down about silly little things like whatever Spotify numbers and ticket sales and stuff like that. But you know, we love what we do, and we are having fun.
Oh yeah, Gavin. Well, dude, thank you so much for taking more than an hour of your time with me. I really appreciate it, and thanks for persevering through some audio issues with the connection, man. Like I said, I'm not sure if it was like the weather or just us being in different parts of the world, but that's why I love doing the show, man. It's really cool, to connect with people, and that's what's great about music. I guess just to put a button on this, right? It really is a universal language, and even though we both speak English, um it's cool that compared to maybe 30 years ago, for us, we wouldn't have been able to do a video chat like this in 1995 if y'all had a new album coming out then. It would have probably somebody would have had to send a tape to me, in the mail or something, or heard me across the pond on terrestrial radio somehow. So that's what's beautiful about modern times. There's a lot of craziness in the world, but there's still a lot of good people, a lot of creatives like yourself,
Yeah.
having fun and doing what you love. So I want everybody to go check out Are We Having Fun Yet? When this episode comes out, it'll be out this Friday. So definitely check it out. And if you're in Australia, go see the band live, man. So Gavin, thank you so much for your time, brother. You have an open invite anytime you want to come back. And I'll put the links in the podcast description. But for everybody listening, man, let them know where they can find y'all out there.
Great, and thank you so much, Mike. Yeah, look, you can find us. It's probably maybe best to just Google Gavin Bowles and the Distractions, but our film clips music videos, all on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Spotify. If you want to buy a record, limited edition colored record of the new album, then head to our website or our Bandcamp. You can find it there. There's also a few other little things. There's CDs and there's tote bags, some other merch, things like that. And just join the party, join the community. Say hi, whether it's in person or in a message, wherever you're from, and yeah, let's spread the love.
Alrighty, dighty, there you have it. That was my conversation with Gavin Bowles from Gavin Bowles and the Distractions out of Australia. Make sure you go follow these guys on Instagram at Gavin Bowles Music, and that is spelled GAVINBOWLES. Gavin Bowles Music on Instagram. The links to all of their stuff will be in the podcast description for this episode, so you know what to do. Scroll down to the bottom of that podcast description, hit those links, and go follow Gavin Bowles and the Distractions. Once again, like I said at the jump, and like y'all just heard in that conversation, their new album, Are We Having Fun Yet?, is going to be out this Friday, October 17th, where you get your music. So mark your calendars. And if you're in Australia, they're going to be doing an album release show on October 24th at Bootleggers Newtown, and that is going to kick off their tour that they're going to be doing for this new record. They're also going to be releasing some sick vinyl for this. And go run up the numbers on the music that's already out. Go check these guys out. Like I said, if you love rock and roll, if you love pop rock, if you love pop punk, indie, alternative, they really kind of do their own unique blend of it. And the music videos are awesome, man. For Love is Dumb, that really funny, like VHS 80s dating vibe that was on there, man, was so hilarious. And then for Sober, shout out to Tom Roberts, who directed it. Sober was really cool, man. I just love the juxtaposition of like the night before with the next day and kind of like being hungover and kind of like cycling through. You know what I mean? It was really cool. It was really well done. And those are just the tip of the iceberg for their music videos, as you guys heard in that conversation. They always have a lot of fun. They're very creative. Go back and listen to their last album, Phoning It In. Go back and listen to Gavin Bowles stuff that he released under his own name, separate from Gavin Bowles and the Distractions. Like, it's all awesome, man. I really had a lot of fun talking with him, and I just want to say directly to Gavin, thank you so much, man, for coming on the podcast and for rescheduling with me. I know that's a challenge. Usually I'm only dealing with a couple hours difference, east or west with the United States being on Central Time here in the States. So it's just cool to connect with positive people out here. And I really dug going back and listen to y'all's catalog to get ready for this bad boy. And I can't wait to listen to the new one. Are we having fun yet? So once again, everybody, go follow Gavin Bowles and the Distractions at Gavin Bowles Music on Instagram. All of the links are in the podcast description. If you're in Australia, please go check these guys out on October 24th at Bootleggers Newtown. And if you can't make that show, check out the other tour dates. Again, all the links will be in the podcast description. And if you did enjoy this conversation and Gavin and the boys are what brought you here, thank you for hopping aboard the pirate ship. That's a Goonies reference for those of you who are new to the show. Pirate ship. It appears to be some sort of pirate ship. I just refer to myself as that because I am unsullied by sponsorship and I'm a one-man band out here, man, just floating along. So, but if you did enjoy what you heard, I would really appreciate it if you took the time to like and subscribe to the show on whatever streaming service that you are listening to it right now in your eardrums. That goes a long way in helping the show get out to more people, especially if you leave a rating and a review for the show on whatever streaming service you listen to. Apple and Spotify have 5-star ratings. You can also leave comments. If you engage with the reels and the posts that I share on Instagram and TikTok and YouTube, all of those things go a long way in helping the show get out to more people. And ultimately, that's what I want, man. I want more people to find out about awesome artists like Gavin Bowles and the Distractions and what they're doing. And again, that's what's cool about doing this show, man, is getting to talk to people from different parts of the world and also find the common ground and the common threads that we all have, man. For Gavin and I, and for all of you listening, it's probably music, obviously, is a pretty obvious one. But I also think it was really cool to hear about his background and his mom and his dad and how supportive they were of him and his brother making music and being creative. And his dad taking them to see Green Day. Those are formative experiences in your life, man, that go a long way and affecting you positively as you go forward in the future. And so I would just encourage any of you out there, whether you're single, whether you're in a relationship, whether you have kids, whether you don't, number one, just be grateful for who and what you do have in your life. And number two, do not quit on your dreams, whatever those are, whether they're music, of art or any kind, whether they're physical goals, whether they're business goals, whether they're job change or moving to a new place, like take the chance, you know what I mean? And I know it's easier said than done. I'm somebody that lives with anxiety and intrusive thoughts, but whenever I'm able to remind myself of who and what I have and how lucky I am to just be alive, that gratitude headspace goes a long way in helping make positive changes. And like my gram used to say, change always just starts with that first step. You just got to take that first step, man. For me, it was 2019, revamping this podcast, changing the name, doing a new logo, starting it up. And then COVID, one of the positives that came out of it for me was working from home and being remote with everything that was happening in the world and all the shutdowns. And it was really the kind of kick in the butt that I needed to get this bad boy going again. But don't let a global pandemic be the thing that you need to get you going, man. Like just for what it's worth coming from this goofball, like just know that you are loved, you are worthy, you are worth it. We are all works in progress. And whatever it is that you want to do, man, just take that first step today. So I'll leave you with that. Once again, you can follow me on Instagram at March 4th Pod. I'm on YouTube and TikTok if you look up March 4th Pod. The link tree with all of my stuff is in the podcast description. So in that link tree, you're going to find articles about the show. You're going to find all the streaming service links. You're going to find past writing that I used to do music wise, some music feature stories in there. And yeah, connect with me, man, if you enjoyed what you heard. And once again, go follow Gavin Bowles and the Distractions at Gavin Bowles Music. Are We Having Fun Yet is going to be out this Friday, October 17th. So on that note, I'm going to wrap it up officially by saying what I say at the end of every episode. Keep the faith and be kind to one another and be kind to yourselves. Courtesy of Gavin, here is the song Love is Dumb from Gavin Bowles and the Distractions. Peace.
Love is dumb. it makes you numb. You can't think straight, can't get out the words, not even one. You get stars in your eyes, you're already hypnotized. Just stuck there swooning. It's all we have, it's all we know. We're flying high, we're crashing low. It's in our hearts, our heads, our lungs. Our lives are fed the ways that turn. Love is done. Love is stupid. It makes you useless. Your head's in the clouds like wow, it's a total